morning, everyone. I want the book to entertain, inspire, and instruct. As a part of my writing process, I put together this gathering that I call Book Camp. I'm gathering some of the best writers and thinkers, along with everyone I write about, putting us all together in one room to dive deeply into every word of the book. And everybody gets a chance to respond. I am offering my life and times, my trials and tribulations for examination. I want to extract the lessons from my stories in digestible bites of applicable wisdom and hopefully be able to give new tools that I discovered through these stories. It was a much bigger undertaking than I thought. I was thinking about it in terms of a screenplay, and it's probably the equivalent of 7 or 8 screenplays. And so any thoughts, feel free to throw out anything that comes up. But thank you all, and let us begin. I was rich, famous, successful with women all over the world, but over the next few months, I went full ghetto hyena. I love being in my father's home movies, and that deep craving for his love and approval undoubtedly played a role in my desire to perform in film later in my life. I had always seen the world as my battlefield. I now understood that the true combat zone was my mind. Yeah, so there's a lot of landmines in that one, so everyone speak freely.
I just want to say that you've pulled the curtain back on your entire mechanism, right? And essentially revealed the entire motivation around what people know as Will Smith.
Yes.
And in that, of course, is huge relief.
I'm putting myself in the mindset of the reader.
The reader,
Because that's who this is for.
Yeah.
Right? So we want them to be able to project their own experience and be, when Will said that, that's exactly what my dad did. Like, that's the conversation you want the reader to have.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think the thing about dreaming is that it always is a dream until it's not a dream.
Right.
But to trust a dreamer,
Yeah.
you know what I mean, feels risky.
Yeah.
This whole experience of the whole book, honestly, is that like somehow this is a dreamer you can trust, but it's still hard.
Yeah.
I've learned more about Will through this book than I ever knew. So it was exciting to hear things and find out things that you didn't know growing up in a house with the same person. And this has been super eye-opening, and it's tough, and they haven't gotten me to cry yet.
I think the line that really hit me was that just because something feels bad doesn't automatically mean that it is bad.
Yeah.
I feel like that is such a big realization, not only for you, but for people.
Yeah.
And it becomes very clear that you were able to see what your father gave you as a gift.
Yeah.
And what your grandmother gave you as a gift, and what your mother gave you as a gift.
Yeah.
But most people look at what their parents gave them as a curse.
Right.
It allows us to get to know Daddy-O and the black male figure, particularly in that time, in a way that I haven't seen anywhere else, period. So many black males in that era have had to bury their feminine side, bury their feelings, bury all the love and the goodness, and use violence and anger and control to survive, right?
The thing about money, sex, and success is that when you don't have them, you can justify your misery. But once you're rich, famous, successful with women all over the world screaming that they love you, and you're still insecure and unhappy, the terrifying thought begins to lurk. Maybe the problem is me.
For me, I found it fascinating that you're sleeping with all these women, but you're actually like feeling sick because of your value and inner code. I think I was just intrigued by like, where were you allowing the divine in? Or were you so masked away from it
Yeah, I was
that you only felt it in your gut?
It got to be weird too, because I'm saying it seems like your life is like excelling, but it's actually falling apart. Right? It really was, right? It really was.
One thing that's come up in Will's, I'm so glad to hear you've made it a part of your stuff, is this idea of the hero's journey, which is the work of Carl Jung. So this is where all the setbacks in the hero really are starting to come up, and you've actually really hooked the reader now, because now they're invested in you. Every myth ever written in the history of man has the falling apart of the hero, and this is what's happening here, as well as we're also getting oriented to all the goddesses in your life. But the concept of the goddess and the sacred feminine who really is what messes with your head. I mean, from my shrink seat here, this is a really important turning point in this book.
The entire basis for my self-esteem was foundationally dependent upon whether or not my woman was happy. My self-image was inexorably bound up in my woman's opinion and approval of me.
Women bring out rage in you like nothing else. So it's like, what's that about?
I have no idea. It's like,
He's just looking, there's more women on that side of the table.
help, help, help. You heard the question, help. Do I look like I have an answer for that? I went to an all-black church, lived on an all-black street, and grew up playing with only other black kids. But at the same time, I was one of the only 3 black children attending Our Lady of Lourdes, the local Catholic K-8. At school, it was impossible not to feel like an outcast.
It actually made me also think of like how Black folks are always having to be so perfect in ways, and that's so much of how we raise our children, because it's like an interesting way of thinking the divine, you know, because it's like, yeah, like at any moment, the one thing you did, if you didn't do it perfect, could be the thing that's your undoing.
I'm addicted to the approval of others, and to secure their approval, I became addicted to working, to grinding, and obsessively pursuing perfection. I had become a version of exactly what I was running away from. I was Daddy-O, the sequel, Revenge of the Smith.
What is addiction? Addiction's not getting high. Addiction is not being able to live with the thing that gets you high. Does that make sense? The day a person becomes an addict is the day they can't get through the day without the drug. It's no longer about feeling good, it's about not feeling bad. So in essence, what work was doing was, it was becoming where you regulate. You no longer regulated through the normal ways people are supposed to regulate, talking things out, feeling things, being comfortable with discomfort. You just kept working, and that's addiction. Because here you're so obsessive about work. We always think of addiction as messy. It's actually, addiction's tight, because the person is completely oriented around one thing, and that is avoiding their emotions and being addicted.
I can admit to having times in my life where I did some dumb stuff. And I think all of us know that. So I think when we see it, it's almost like, oh my God, how could you not see it? I just think that's such a part of the human evolutionary experience of not seeing it. I think all of us have done stuff that we haven't seen. I know I have.
Can you imagine what it would feel like if someone loved you, gave you all you needed, helped you, served you, protected you, nourished you, empowered you, and forgave you? For many of us, the answer to that question is no. But what Gigi knew, and what Nelson Mandela knew, what Muhammad Ali knew, and what Daddy-O knew in his final moments is that you must give it to receive it.
Desire is in the mode of passion, which means that it's beautiful in the beginning and poison at the end. And so when you get that car, you then go, now what? And purpose is in the mode of goodness, which is poison in the beginning and beautiful at the end. In the beginning, you're like, well, God, I gotta turn up again and my kids are never gonna get to college. When's this ever gonna happen? But it has longevity, it has sustainability, whereas desire is just futile and it just dies. Desire dies as soon as you reach it, whereas purpose gets stronger and bolder and more beautiful. So desire makes suffering feel not worth it, and purpose makes suffering feel beautiful and worthwhile. Yeah.
You actually make a nice arc going back to the hero's journey. Most heroes have some form of addiction. It's the nature of the beast. And so this is what yours is. And all of a sudden, we start de-romanticizing will the worker be? And that's what it was.
You're a human that has gone through a trauma that has emotions and feelings just like anybody else, but you're actually the hero who took all those things and did it anyway.
As you're building this journey from fear to love, what you're doing for the reader is you're building a ladder to love. And the ladder very clearly shows people that it's not about fame, it's not about money, it's not about power. At this stage, we're at purpose.
We're at purpose.
So we're not at love yet.
We're not at love,
But it's very clearly showing, well, I've had this and that didn't work, and I've had this and that didn't work. And I love that you're guiding people towards love, guiding people towards God, guiding people towards more than the material. And so that ladder to love, that ladder
That's
is
interesting.
really
I love the
beautiful.
ladder to love.
Yeah.
And it's got all these layers of learning in it. Like learning about you, learning about trauma, learning about
Correct.
the fact that things aren't black and white.
Right.
Yeah.
That we can learn all the lessons,
But
but
Yeah.
through your experience, and then we go on the journey with you.
Yes.
And just so that you know, there's a whole piece of Will's development where he goes, oh, my feelings matter.
I just feel so excited that you've shared your art in so many ways, but now people are going to get to see your heart.
Absolutely.
And so I'm so grateful to be a part of that journey from art to art.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Jay is responsible for my inner Arjuna. You know, so yeah. All right, thank you all for a beautiful week. Yeah, thank you all. Yeah.